What's going on, guys? Your boy Fluff here. With all this 2.4.1 hype, we thought we'd talk about where we kind of stand with our skills. I mean, we're excited about new gear, power creep, and all that's fine and well, but a lot of runes for existing skills, or just skills in general, will be kind of left behind in the dust. And so today we thought we'd go over skills, runes, what's good, what's garbage, what they should work on. Maybe get some of your thoughts too. But yeah, let's just go ahead and start. We'll start with the primary skills. Bash, Frostbite. Enemies can only be frozen once every 5 seconds. That kind of makes this kind of garbage. Plus, with the CC immunity, they haven't really gone back and changed this skill since they added the kind of resistance to the mobs. So this rune is pretty bad. This one, increased crit for 3 seconds against that particular enemy, and this is a single target skill. So is that necessarily good? No, it's not. Unless they made some kind of weapon that made Bash an AoE skill. Onslaught's never going to get used probably, let's be real. Bash Punish, you get a stacking damage buff. It stacks up to 3 times, so you get 12% more damage. That's okay. That could definitely be up to more to make it, viable. Like, again, it feels like they're kind of ignoring runes, and they're making gear that makes skills better, but they're kind of like ignoring all the runes. It feels like, standard increased fury regen on the instigation. How do we feel about the runes that increase fury on primaries? I mean, they're all kind of meh, right? It's just weird. This one we like. Each hit causes shockwave, deals 100%. This is how I use in the Hadouken, the Barb, which you can check out on my YouTube channel. This one is a cool ability. We'd like to see it do more damage, but it's definitely unique, and we like that one. Cleave, Rupture. This would be really cool if it actually did anything. I feel they need to definitely up the damage or give the build some kind of new weapon that makes Rupture good. But we like this. We like this. Enemies slain by Cleave cause 160% weapon damage as fire to all others. They explode, basically. And that would be cool. If you could build around like killing trash and having them explode and do damage to elites, that'd be awesome. Again, this rune, generate 1 more fury per enemy hit. I mean, we're not crazy about the runes that increase fury gen. This one seems a little weird. So they just come up and they come back down. I've never used this. I'm going to be totally honest with you guys, because Cleave, primaries for Barbs. For Barbs in particular, I think primary skills are near worthless unless you're playing Frenzy Lawn. I don't know if I've ever used a primary skill in a Barb build. Like, ever. Ever. They're not good. They're not usually worth keeping in builds. You have plenty of other ways to generate fury, so having them in at all is not good. But yeah, this one seems like it could be somewhat clever. Like they come up, come back down, do splash damage. We're okay with that, I guess. It needs to do way more damage. Get an item to go with it. Something. Broad sweep makes an AoE attack. That one's fine. Shield and take 10% from all sources. We could see this being like a support rune. Sure. That's fine. Frenzy, we're kind of okay with all the runes on Frenzy. Frenzy, I think, just needs maybe to be a power creeped a bit, or given more items through other slots. Maybe make it a good lawn spec. This one, 30% damage or 300% damage is a 25% chance to throw an axe. It's pretty cool to see it proc. This more fury gen. We're not crazy about it. The 5% movement per stack, I mean, that can be pretty cool. If you get like the 10 stack fury going, it's 50% movement speed. Each hit has a 30% chance to stun for 1.5 seconds. 30% chance is pretty high, but it is a single target skill, so that makes this not quite great. And then Frenzy Maniac, I mean, that's probably the best Frenzy rune, right? You get damage per stack. Weapon throw, we're just going to go ahead and say across the board, this is all pretty terrible. They need to increase the damage it deals or give it way more items. The weapon throw as a whole is, I mean, people want it to be viable. There's no doubt. But weapon throw is not. in any sense of the word viable. This one increases the damage. That's fine. Ricochet. That sounds great. We'd love to see that in an actual build. 40% chance to stun. Again, not crazy about it because they haven't re-looked at these skills since the CC resistance that mobs get. So this isn't quite as good as it used to be, and it never used to be that good. So this one causes enemies 15% chance to cause enemies to be confused for 3 seconds. It's a single target skill, so again, not that good unless they make like the bouncing, the ricochet, and the stupefy work together somehow, so they can hit other enemies with the confuse. Maybe, but probably not worth. And then again, more fury gen. We're not crazy about it. Hoda. Now we're on their secondary skills. These are a little bit more viable, I feel. Create a shockwave. It deals 505, 22 yards in front of you. That's fine. We're okay with that one. Smash is probably arguably the best rune for Hoda. Chills enemies. I mean, this kind of sucks. Man, the trap does this for us. This needs to be looked at. I don't think that's been looked at since they've added legendary gems, so yeah, it definitely needs to be looked. Again, this hasn't been looked at since the CC immunity they added to mobs. Is it great? It is an AoE skill, so it's a little bit more viable than the single target primaries, but it's still kind of meh. Birthright, this is about to be changed so that it heals you for 3% of your life on crit, and I think that'll be quite good. So we're happy with that one. Rend, the AoE increase, that's good. Bloodlust, I mean, this is pretty garbage. 0.5% of your maximum life per second for each enemy hit. Even if you have like 30 enemies around you, it's not that good. Barbs don't usually run things that give us fury or life gen. It's not usually as good as, say, life per fury spent or life on hit. This is fine. The damage increase. Mutilate. This is good for support. We're okay with this. Bloodbath we like. We like it to spread so we don't have to keep casting it. Seismic Slam. We don't really need the damage reduction or the fury cost reduction since it comes on the weapon. So we'd like to see this worked at. This is fine. A damage increase. We like this one too. It's a pretty cool particle effect or whatever you want to call it. Animation. But it definitely needs to do more damage, I feel. 1% life for every enemy hit. That's fine. They should maybe come out with a weapon that kind of combines some of these runes. Maybe. And this one, it looks cool. Does it do much? No. Slows enemies by 60% for 1 second. That kind of sucks. Unless you're just spamming Seismic Slam and nothing else. Whirlwind, Dust Devils. I mean, they're giving this to us on the 6-piece Whirlwind. So maybe they should add a rune that does something else. Because these are pretty garbage. Hurricane, if this actually worked 100% of the time, it'd be really cool. But as many of you know that have used it, it doesn't really pull in enemies all the time. It's pretty inconsistent. And you don't always... I wish you could like somehow control when you decide to proc Hurricane. Because sometimes you're pulling enemies when you don't really want to. That's just how it works, I guess, right? Blood Funnel is fine. I mean, it's pretty boring, but it's fine. Wind Shear, again, that's okay. Whirlwind, more damage, fine. We don't really like runes that are just straight more damage, but what you can do. And then Ancient Spear, I mean, the only ones that we're looking at here is Boulder Toss. We wish Boulder Toss, could have other damage types because it's so, like, every spec in 2.4 uses Boulder Toss. Every competitive spec uses Boulder Toss, which sucks. Because if you don't like Boulder Toss, you don't probably like Barb this season because you're stuck using it. Rancer, this is total garbage. Harpoon will be great. We love Harpoon and Rage Flip, but they don't work 100% of the time. So it's pretty frustrating. We get the mob should be CC to them after a while, but like after the first time, it seems like they get like 100% immunity, which is awful. So you're just like spamming a Harpoon, hoping that they come back to you. Jagged Edge is terrible. Skill needs to be probably re-looked at. The runes need to be looked at. Ground Stomp. It's a pretty meh skill in general. The only reason you're using Ground Stomp is what, to proc Band of Might or to get some avalanche damage from the belt. And overall, it's not a really good skill. Reduce the cooldown by 8 seconds. So it goes from 12 to 8. I mean, that's not that great. Enemies slowed for 8 seconds. Your trap does that. So is that good? No, not necessarily. We like Wrenching Smash. Wrenching Smash is a good rune. Trembling Stomp, I gotta be honest with you guys, I haven't used it, but 575 seems really weak. Fury Gen to 30. I mean, that's fine, I guess, right? Enemies hit have a temp. They're changing this one. I don't know what they're changing it to. I forget. But it's not anything worth mentioning. Leap. Iron Impact. They're giving it to you on the My Diverse set. I don't know. Kind of meh. 150% more armor. That's fine. This is never used. You know, again with the slow, you're getting slow trapped. You're leaping into enemies, not usually leaping out of enemies. So it probably needs to be looked at. Increase the damage of leap. I mean, the damage is so insignificant. Why is this even a rune? Call of Ariat. This would be great if they increase it to 24 yards, because then that would give you more options with Leap Quake. You could do fire and cold and lightning and still have that ability to suck in mobs instead of just a cave-in rune from Earthquake. That would be really cool. Death from Above, without question, the best rune by far. So it'd be cool if maybe they gave you that rune on some piece of gear. Sprint, increase dodge chance by 12%. That's pretty garbage. Run Like the Wind. We like this rune a lot if it just did damage. Like, this would be good T10 rune if it was like, you know, I don't know, 600 weapon damage instead of 60 on the tornadoes. Adding them to Whirlwind would be really cool. But even any build, you know, just leaving tornadoes behind so you can just leave mobs in your wake and they just die. Marathon's good, arguably the best. Force March is good for group play. Slam through enemies, knocking them out. I mean, this is fine. If you don't have like illusory boots and you're not running Whirlwind, we're okay with this. IP, Ignore Pain. Bravado, you know, it could be good. Sure. If you're like maybe adding it to like a Furious Charge build where you get more damage based on your movement speed. Ironhide's good for if you don't have really high CDR. We're okay with Ironhide. Ignorance is Bliss is probably the best one. It's my favorite. That amount of life your Fury spent is great. So it's really good for builds that spend a lot of Fury. Mob Rule, they're changing this. I know, yeah, Mob Rule is, they're changing this to get 25% instead of the original 50%, which is fine because they're nerfing mob damage. So that's totally fine there. This kind of sucks. Maybe the heal should be a little bit more, or maybe should reduce the cooldown, something. No one would ever use this over Ignorance is Bliss, so that makes this rune pretty terrible. Overpower, I can't assign it to this skill, so let's open it up with something else. Yeah, Overpower, arguably the second worst skill the Barbarian has. Not used in absolutely any build. Some builds would use Crushing Advance in the past, but I mean that hasn't been a thing for a couple patches. This skill in general is just total garbage. So it's got a 12 cooldown. You know, it's a one cast skill. The damage on it is 380% for a 12-second cooldown. Granted, it gets reduced by critical hits, but 380. I mean, it needs to be like 38,000. Like, let's be real. Like, this is just so bad. 3 axes. I mean, sure. Again, if Overpower did damage, that'd be fine. It would be okay. That's still kind of lame. Maybe if the 3 axes bounced on enemies, it'd be okay. Overpower, Killing Spree, more crit. That's pretty meh. But you know, a lot of builds would use this just to get that additional crit, and maybe they're not so concerned about getting damage with killing or Overpower. Crushing Advance, we just talked about. Some builds use that because it does give some damage reduction. Momentum is pretty terrible. Maybe in like a Whirlwind build. This skill would fit really well in a Whirlwind build because you can cast it while moving, while in Whirlwind. You don't have to cancel out Whirlwind. So it's good for that. I'd like to see them add it to the Whirlwind set. Ren doesn't really make sense in the Whirlwind set, so I'm not sure why they went that route, but whatever, you know. I'm not a dev. Revel, you know, more damage, fine. We're not crazy about runes like that, but again, for this skill to even be used, it's just a massive damage bump. Revenge. This is the worst skill the Barbarians have. I don't think anyone has used this. I used this when the game originally came out, when I needed the healing, or just because I liked the way it worked. They went back and they added like charges to the skill later on, and it's just total garbage. You also need to be able to cast this on the fly. I feel the animation is really long, so it makes the skill kind of crap. I mean, it's already crap. The damage is crap. It needs a huge damage bonus. But you know, these runes would be okay if there's maybe the skill was reworked. Increased crit. I mean, overpower kind of does that already, so that's kind of lame. More damage, blah. We've seen that before. Enemies, knock back enemies. Would we want that? Hell no. What Barb build besides weapon throw maybe would want you to knock back enemies? None. You need that density. This is going to cancel out your density. So this rune is terrible. Increase the maximum charges. Again, maybe it's going to be good if they ever made the skill good, but as it stands right now, the skill is just total complete garbage. Furious Charge, Battering Ram. Obviously, you know, fine rune, more damage, great. Merciless Assault, arguably the best rune, without question. Stamina, also a very good rune. We like all these. Cold Rush, fine. Less good now that there's CC immunity, but, you know, it's still quite good. And 3 charges, fine. They've obviously done a lot of changes to Furious Charge because, like, 2 sets use Furious Charge, basically, so. Avalanche, first and foremost, they need to reduce the animation time on this thing. Like, you're a sitting duck while you're casting Avalanche. It's like a whole, probably like a 2-second cast, maybe 1.5. It sucks, so. It sucks to cast. So, which really hurts Volcano. Volcano is a really cool rune. I like it. You can see my Volcano spec in my YouTube channel. T10 spec. It's really fun. Check it out. But we love Volcano. We love the rune Volcano. We love that they increase the damage to Avalanche, but we'd like to see them maybe tweak Avalanche a little bit more. Cooldown reduced for 1 second every 15 fury spent. Fine. 2 physical runes and the default rune being physical. That kind of sucks. There's not even a lightning rune for Avalanche, which definitely needs to be added, because we have lightning in our elemental rotation. 2 colds, that doesn't really make sense. I think they need to do one or the other. Obviously, Glacier is way better than Snowcat Mountain, so we'd like to see them throw out this one and maybe include a lightning one, and not just change the element, because this rune just sucks. And still up to 3 charges, that's super meh. That's super meh. Tactics, and my friend brought this up the other day, so Threatening Shout. Enemies terrify. Enemies are severely demoralized. Each enemy has a 100% chance to flee in fear for 3 seconds. And then there's a rune called Demoralize that doesn't demoralize them, which is ironic. But that one instead causes enemies to taunt you, or they're taunted to attack you for 4 seconds. So this, I know you can use in GRs. It makes mobs chase you a little bit better. We'd like to see it do something else. We'd like to maybe even see this added defaulter, and then maybe just go back to the drawing board on the rest of these runes. Intimidate, we don't ever see being good. Grim Harvest, I don't think they're changing this one, actually, ironically enough. I think it's still going to say the Health Globe chance. But yeah, everything else besides Falter and maybe Demoralize are pretty terrible. We'd like to see them work that. Battle Rage is an okay skill. Increased damage bonus to 15, off to normal 10. That's fine. Movement speed, great. You know, it can be good with Furious Charge build, T10. This probably needs to be a % of your life instead of a straight life giving number, so that it can scale better. They don't have to keep going back and tuning it. That's kind of just poor design on their part. Into the Fray, this is good. We're fine with this. Get density, get that crit chance up. We like that. Bloodshed, arguably the best rune without question. Totally fine with this rune. We love this rune. We would like it to proc off the elemental type that you're using. so it's not just the best in physical type build, but you know, beggars can't be choosers, right? Warcry, Hardened Wrath. This is good for support high CDR builds because you can get that 5-second, almost a 5-second cooldown with Obsidian Ring and high CDR. So this is quite good. Charge, I haven't seen this in any specs. It could be good. I'm not going to say it's a crap rune because maybe we'll find a way to use this later on with more items that come out. This life regen amount, again, I think it needs to be % of your life. A straight heal number isn't smart design because they're just going to have to go back and change it again later on. So that's just bad coding. Increased dodge chance by 30%. This one's fine if you're using Wrath of the Berserker. That in combination with this is really quite good. And then there's Impunity, which is probably the best rune overall. More resistance, more toughness, great. And then finally our rage skills, okay? So we got Earthquake. What's going on, Stram? Welcome back. We're just going over runes for a YouTube video. Earthquake, Giant Stride. This is my favorite rune. I love Giant Stride. But the problem with Giant Stride is the tremors don't stack. So if you get another Earthquake down, you know, for I don't know how long these tremors last. I don't know if it's like one tremor every second or multiple tremors every second. I don't know how it works. I've never looked at it. But I love how it looks. I like how it plays. I like everything about it. I like this rune. It just doesn't stack, and that sucks. That sucks. So we'd like to see this stack, and then we'd be totally fine with this rune. And obviously these are a bit more up to date because Might of Earth set, so these runes are going to be a little bit better. A CC, great, totally fine with that. This one kind of sucks still. Lightning's kind of getting the shaft as far as Might of Earth goes, which is unfortunate because Lightning is one of the coolest looking runes that there is. You know, the lightning on the ground is really cool looking, but the rune sucks. The rune totally sucks, and you have to put it on your bar. So that, I mean, if you have to put it on your bar, it should be something that's really decent. Molten Fury, more damage. We're totally fine with this. Obviously the default rune is fire, but giving it more, that's smart. That's smart between the two because you can still put it on your bar to get that extra 1200% damage. And Cave In is brilliant. You know, it's the best rune arguably for Leap Quake this season. But again, if they added Leap to do 24 yards but on top of this, I think it would open a lot more options. And Call of the Ancients, I wouldn't say it's our third worst skill. I think Weapon Throw is probably the third worst skill. This would probably be the fourth, though. Other than the fact that together as one gives you toughness, everything else is just total garbage. And you don't have them out because you like them. You have them out because 50% of the damage is divided between you and them. I personally hate having the pets out. I hate having pets as a Barb. So I hate that this is part of the IK set. But it makes sense why it is. You know, Immortal Kings, Call of the Ancients, those go hand in hand if you're into lore and stuff like that. It makes sense. I just don't particularly like it. But more damage. I mean, Coda, that's short for Call of the Ancients. Coda does almost no damage. So that makes this skill almost worthless. So we'd like to see Coda just re-examined altogether for damage. It's just no good. Duty of the Clan, you could use this in a support type build, or if you're using Cold. We'd like to see these two combined on those shoulders. So one of the items that they have is it gives you Ancient Fury, so you get this rune by default, and we like that. But maybe combine these two, because no one's going to go for this. I mean, it's just garbage. Everyone would go for Together as One. Well, it's like, well, they're giving me any of them. They should have given them Together as One, probably. Maybe they should have given you all three, because none of them are really that overpowering. And then Wrath of the Berserker, finally. Ariat's Wail, I mean, it's just bad. The only time this was used when they had Mortix Bracer on PTR, and you could make Wrath of the Berserker damage type from Slaughter into fire damage, and that's the only time this rune ever got used. I mean, 3400% damage on a 120-second cooldown. Like, this would have to be like 340,000 damage for this rune to ever be worth it. And even then, that's such a lame thing to put. Because you got Insanity, you've got Striding Giant. and you'd go with Ariad's Well? Like, no way. No way would you ever pick that rune over these two in 1,000 years. So unless they just gave it on an item, it's never going to see the light of day. Insanity is obviously the best, without question. Striding Giant being a number 2. Slaughter probably being a number 3. We like Slaughter. I wish they would give us this rune on some item. We really like it. But being locked in the physical kind of sucks. We'd like to see that, you know, be based on your own damage type. And Thrive on Chaos, great. You know, that'd be great if you could get, you know, Ignore Pain with Ignorance is Bliss plus Thrive on Chaos. The amount of life your Fury spent you'd be getting, awesome. That would be really, really cool. And then we'll just go over maybe some of the passives real quick before we wrap this up. Pound of Flesh is a new skill. More damage for Fury's Charge type builds, but that's the only build I could really see using this in, since it's not to the group. Maybe if it was to the group, you'd use it in the support build. But for being a reworked passive, that's really underwhelming. And same with Sword and Board. Maybe because Sword and Board we don't really have a good shield spec. Maybe that's something that they'll add later on. But no Barb ever uses like a shield. There's no good shield builds, which is unfortunate. That'd be really cool if they added that. But maybe this will be good later on. Reduce all damage by 30% and reduce fairy cost by 20%. Maybe we should see a damage increase go along with this as well. But again, we don't know. Maybe they have plans for that particular passive. Ruthless, arguably the best Barb passive. Maybe Rampage being a close second, or maybe a tie. But these two are obviously amazing. Nervous Steel, totally fine with that. Weapon Master, the only thing good here is the 2 Fury per hit on the mighty weapons. Everything else I think needs to be looked at again. You wouldn't ever pick that passive if you're using swords and daggers, maces, axes, polearm spears. Just not worth. Not that good anymore. I mean, back in the day it was good when 5 crit was hard to come by, but like now it's no good. Berserker Rage, brilliant. Love this passive. Inspiring Presence is still kind of meh, but you know, people use it in support. That's fine. I'd like to see it do more for you individually, so it's not just like a support passive. Bloodthirst, we're totally fine with this. You know, that 1% for health globe healing bonus is actually pretty hard to do, and it's a little bit better now that you can get ancient pieces, so that health globe healing bonus on secondaries goes up, so this goes up. So we're fine with Bloodthirst. We'd like to see more, but you know, whatever. Animosity's fine. Superstition, fine. Tough as Nails, fine, and they're increasing the thorns to 100%, which is great. No Escape, we have absolutely no experience with it because, again, weapon throw is terrible, and I haven't really messed around with any Seismic Slams builds that are actually range, so I can't tell you one way or the other if this is any good. What we would need to test is, you know, a build that would actually use this and be good, but there isn't one. So Relentless, this is fine. It needs to save you somehow though. Like, mobs will just kill you from like 8% life to dead, and then Relentless never gets used. So it needs, like, maybe they should add anti-death to this or combine them somehow, but as it stands, this isn't that good unless you're in like a low GR and you're just close to being dead. It's not good unless you're super tanky, like a support spec. That's pretty good in the support spec. Brawler's fine. Juggernaut needs to be looked at. Not very good. Unforgiving, sure, we could see this being viable maybe someday. Boonable Kathos, great, totally fine with that one. And then Earth and Might, great, nothing wrong with that. But that's about it for that. I'd like to know what you guys think. Feel free to comment. Again, as always, guys, like, subscribe if you want me to make more of these silly videos. Come on over to my Twitch channel. Talk about Barb Shizzle. That's going to do it for me, guys.